Great to have you with us today. Joining us now on the John Fredericks Radio Network, Trucking the Truth, candidate Republican for Attorney General, also VMI graduate. VMI not doing too good. We're not going to be talking about that. 0-4. We lost 2 games, 63-7. Got clocked last week by Chattanooga. Not good. Anyway, we're not going to be talking about that. But we are going to be talking about the Attorney General's race, the NFL, and other things going on. Joining us now, John Adams, candidate, Republican, Attorney General. John, good to have you with us.
Hey, John, good to chat with you.
Okay, we're not going to be talking VMI football today.
Thank you.
Oh, my goodness. I just got to get off that. Saturday was such a debacle. All right. It is what it is.
You know, I can't catch many football games. I did go up and work the tailgates at the home opener, and, just hope the team can get it together here in the latter half of the season.
Now I'm just looking at the schedule thinking, okay, who can we beat? I mean, now I just don't want to get shut out. I'm like, okay, what team here can we possibly compete with? The Chattanooga game at home, that was not good. Didn't look too good. We were just outmanned. Anyway, John, you're running for Attorney General, and I've got you behind in this race. I predicted right now, I think if the election were held today, you would get Gillespie, Vogel, Herring. Your name ID not high enough right now, and I've got you behind. How do you turn the corner, John Adams, and win this race?
Well, John, we feel like we're in a great position right now. You look at the polls. I'm not a big fan of polls. Don't really trust them. But if you look at the range, we've seen polls in the last couple of weeks that have us down 2 to 5, typically within 1 point, either ahead, equal, or behind of Ed and Jill. So we're right there in the mix. And look, if you're the sitting Attorney General of Virginia and you're running as an incumbent against someone who's never run for office before, and in early to mid-September I'm down 2 to 5 points, you're in real trouble. And the best evidence of that, John, is Mark Herring did something that, as far as we can tell, no Attorney General candidate's ever done. He went up on TV 2 weeks before Labor Day. And he didn't just go up on TV before Labor Day. He went up with an attack ad against me. And I think the Richmond Times-Dispatch nailed it. They said, their editorial board said, we're surprised that Mark Herring is up with an attack ad 2 weeks before Labor Day, but we're not surprised he's attacking Mr. Adams for representing his clients because Herring has failed to do it on so many occasions. So people know what's going on in the Attorney General race. Mark Herring has offended large swaths of the Virginia population with his activism in the office, and so we feel great about it. And I'm sure your listeners down there have seen the TV ads. We're going toe-to-toe with them on TV. We'll continue to do that. It's going to be a slugfest, and it's going to come down to the wire.
All right, how do you get your name ID up? I mean, that's one of the things that, Gillespie's got name ID. Ran for the U.S. Senate. He ran for statewide office. People have heard of him. Ran a lot of ads in 2014. Ran in a primary. I thought the fact that you were not in a primary actually hurt your candidacy because you weren't able to tussle things up and get your name out there more. So how do you get your name ID up, especially when you're going to get outspent in this race? I got you down, 2.5, 3 to 1 at the end of the day, right?
No, I don't think so. I think we're going to be fine on spending, to be totally honest with you. And look, Herring's got there's a reason he goes against Virginia law and works so hard against right to work. He's got a lot of out-of-state union money coming in if you look at his reports. But he's kind of got what he's got, and we're still bringing in money. We're going toe-to-toe. As far as name ID, our name ID is actually doing quite well. All of our polling indicates my name ID has, as you would expect for someone who's never run for office before, we started low. It's more than doubled over the last just a couple of months, and it continues to rise. So I actually feel great about it. The polling, everything we see, John, says we're right in there. And you can just look at Herring's behavior, the attack ads, the intensity of his attack ads, the timing of them when he went up early. He's really nervous. The other thing that's fascinating to me about the race is this is going to be a race about who should be the lawyer for Virginia. And that's where it's going. That's what people care about. And I'll take that race any day against Herring. You look at his attacks on the right to work law, his revocation of concealed carry reciprocity, his refusal to defend voter ID, his use of funds for backdoor pay raises. It was just announced, or at least made public last week. There's now an Inspector General's investigation of his office for the handling of a case involving a $5 million payment from the Commonwealth of Virginia. So we're very comfortable with where we are, and it's going to be a great race down to the wire.
Now, what about the Mark Herring claims, your opponent's claims that he's sued all of these companies for screwing Virginians out of money, and he's got all this money back? How do you respond to that?
Right, yeah. This is a classic, this is classic. A guy who has repeatedly refused to defend his client, the Commonwealth of Virginia, attacking a lawyer for doing his job and representing his clients. I'll tell you what I think motivated this. One of the other reasons why I'm very confident I'm going to win, John, is we're starting to see some important shifts. I'll give you an example. The Policemen's Benevolent Association, one of the two or three large groups that represents law enforcement officers in the Commonwealth, they endorsed Mark Herring over Mark Obenshain last time. Mm-hmm. They switched this time. They thought they knew what they were getting. For whatever reason, they switched their endorsement, and they have turned and endorsed me this time. Right after that happened, we started to see these attack ads that talked about how, John defended banks that hurt police officers, and it's just, to be honest with you, it's a cheap political attack trying to revive a problem that the Attorney General has. He's trying to run as this law enforcement Attorney General when he's actually not. In fact, I'm the one that was a federal prosecutor, and he's lost at least already one key law enforcement endorsement. And so, what I'd say is he throws these attacks out there, but none of them have any actual sort of underlying truth or meat to them. Mm-hmm. And so he's desperate, and that's what we're seeing, John. He's desperate, and that's why he's running these attack ads. That's why he's saying, John handled these kinds of cases, but he doesn't tell you anything about the case. He doesn't show you any reality of the case. It was, something I wasn't even on the case, right? It was a case that lawyers at my firm did. He's desperate, and he's being dishonest with people in an effort to fool them into thinking he's something he's not. And so we're going to stick to telling it like it is. Virginia needs a new lawyer. We have been abandoned by our Attorney General on multiple occasions in multiple ways, and Virginians are seeing it. And so I look at the polls, and I feel great. I think all three of us are always within about a point of one another, and that makes sense to me, and I think we're coming on strong here down the stretch.
It's very rare that the third person on the ticket who's not an incumbent running against an incumbent is going to run ahead of the people on top of the ticket. I mean, that would defy all logic, right, John? So, I mean,
well, John, that's an interesting point. I mean, I don't know, right? I mean, look, I'm not in this to run ahead of the ticket. I'm in this to be a part of a team that wins and gets Virginia back on the right track. But historically, there's a reason that Bob McDonnell was the Attorney General when Tim Kaine was the governor, why Jerry Kilgore was the Attorney General when Mark Warner was the governor. I believe Obenshain outran the ticket last time.
Yeah. Obenshain led the ticket. Yes. Yeah.
So sometimes that happens. In fact, I think historically speaking, the Attorney General does run ahead a little bit. So I don't. That doesn't strike me as an odd possibility. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to win and be a part of a winning team. And as you probably know, Ed, Jill, and I are all very close. We're working very hard together. Our teams work well together, and so we're very much a team. And candidly, and John, I'd like your take on this. In this environment, I'm not quite sure there's going to be as much ticket splitting as there has been in the past. But we'll obviously have to see.
Well, Ed's going to win. I can tell you that. I have no doubt about that. I've predicted it for months, and I'm more convinced of it now than ever. Let's get to this NFL thing. John, I know it's not exactly a Virginia issue, but everybody's weighing in on it. I'm going to Alabama tomorrow. It's one of the biggest topics there. So let's get to this NFL thing. I mean, you went to VMI.
I'm a veteran. I served in the Navy down in Virginia Beach.
You're a veteran, and you served your country. This is really bothering a lot of people, football fans like me. They want to watch a football game.
Yep.
And so instead we got these people that won't stand up for the national anthem. We've got the episode where, two teams go to London, they stand for the Queen and sit for the flag. And it's just pissed a lot of people off. And I think Trump is right when he called them out, because it's what people are saying at their dining room, kitchen table. Now, these, SOBs, I'm sick of them. What do you make of the whole thing, John?
John, I played football rather poorly, but I loved it. I was a very slow wide receiver in high school. Certainly wasn't really good enough to play in college, but loved playing football. And I'm actually a very, very loyal Steelers fan. I put something on Twitter about Alejandro Villanueva, who is a decorated Army veteran who came out of the tunnel and stood for the flag. Here's where I am on it. I was in the military. I come from a military family. There is no doubt that people have the freedom in this country to protest. They do. Doesn't mean it's a good idea. Doesn't mean it's the right way to do it. And to me, I would say to NFL players or to anybody, this moment when we all stand together to honor our flag is supposed to be a moment of unity. And every American citizen, if they're engaged in any way, constantly has concerns, some of them serious, about our country, about our government, about any number of things. And there's always a time to debate and fight and argue, but to pick the moment when we rise for our national anthem as the time to have that protest, while you can do it, while you have the freedom to do it, I think it really is a problem, because it starts to strike at the underlying unity we have, right? Like, I can stand up next to you during the national anthem right in the middle of a fierce debate over health care, over immigration, over the most contentious issues of our day. And it is because we both stand for that national anthem and for what it stands for and for the sacrifice of people who give us the freedom to have these debates. It's that moment that makes everything else possible. And when you start using that moment to protest, it's while you have the right to do it, I think it's a very dangerous, very, very bad thing.
I agree with you. John, your number one issue against Mark Herring, what is it? Why should people fire Herring and elect John Adams? Why?
Mark Herring has been our lawyer for 3.5 years, and on repeated occasions, he has put his own political interest above that of his client, the Commonwealth of Virginia. He's done it in numerous ways. He literally switched sides and was on the other side of a case against his client in defending our marriage amendment. He refused to defend it. He attacked the other side. Our right-to-work law is critical to our individual liberty and our economy. He's filed briefs in the Supreme Court attacking right-to-work laws. He unilaterally revoked concealed carry. Was overturned by that bastion of conservatism, Terry McAuliffe. refused to defend our voter ID law. This is a guy who has failed to understand the basic role of I am a lawyer for the Commonwealth of Virginia. I serve the citizens, and he serves instead his political views and his political ends. And I think it's a part of something bigger in this country. People understand in what it means to govern yourself. They understand government of, by, and for the people. And people in this country are getting tired of feeling like the government doesn't listen to the people anymore. And in this particular race, we have an unbelievable example of that. An elected official whose job it is to defend the Commonwealth of Virginia and to allow the people to govern themselves and to be their advocate, and to repeatedly ignore the law of Virginia. He's got to go.
Well, he was overturned by that bastion of conservative thought, Terry McAuliffe. No question about that.
Yeah,
right, that's a
think
good
about
one.
that for a minute.
I mean, that did make me laugh. Okay, when you make me laugh in that morning, John, that's a very good thing. And his ruling was overturned. And by the way, I thought that was one of McAuliffe's shining moments when he negotiated that reciprocity deal. But that's for another day on another topic. So, John, are there any debates coming up? Are the people of Virginia going to get a chance to see you guys talk to each other? Or,
yeah,
or is
a
it
lot
just
of people
going to
don't
be
realize
dueling TV
that
heads?
the attorney generals traditionally have a debate very early, and Mark Herring and I debated at the Virginia State Bar Conference in Virginia Beach on 4 days after the primary, and that is online, and your folks can watch it. I think Bearing Drift has a link to it online. After that debate, we couldn't get Mark Herring to agree to anything. He wouldn't come back and debate us again. I don't remember the total number. I think we accepted 11 debates. He would refuse. He just refused. And one of the papers in the state was about to write a story about his refusal to debate us again. And just after that, he decided he would do one more, and he was very adamant. One more, and that's it. So our next debate is October 20th in Loudoun County, which is where he's from. And I'm happy to play an away game. I always loved away games. And so, I've spent a lot of time up in Loudoun, and very excited about that. On October 20th, we will debate.
Okay, is that televised or online, or how is that?
I'm sure it'll be online. I don't know yet about whether it'll be televised.
And who is putting that on?
This one, I believe, is the Loudoun Chamber of Commerce.
All right. And what time is it, John?
It is at 8:30 in the morning.
You know what? 8:30 in the morning on the 20th. That's a Friday. And Loudoun Chamber, I'm going to call them and see if they'll let me carry that live over the radio.
That would be great. That would be great.
Can I do that? I'll do that.
I'd be thrilled to have you there.
Actually, I got to clear it through both camps, so I'll call Nick. I'll get some info from him. I'll reach out to Herring. I don't know why they would not want it broadcast over the radio.
Good. People, this is an important office, John. I know you know it. It's an important office. And I realize we're down ticket. I'm a realist. I get it. And the governor's race obviously takes the lion's share of oxygen in the room. But the AG's race is critically important. And the way that Herring has treated the office over the last 3.5 years has elevated it in Virginians' eyes, because they see what happens if you have a lawyer who, instead of defending and advocating for their client, instead advocates their own political positions, and they've watched it happen. And so there's a lot of interest in this race, John. There's a lot of interest in this race. Can you imagine? I mean, it would be if he's reelected and he's empowered. Can you imagine what he will do in the next 4 years, given the way the office has been handled during the first 4?
All right, John Adams, we're out of time. John, if people want more information, where do they go?
John Adams for VA.com. That's John Adams, FORVA.com. And, John, it's always good being with you, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon.